Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been almost a couple weeks. I've just been not wanting to do this. You know how it is. You just get kind of burnt out and you don't want to do anything. But getting past all that, I just wanted to do a quick series review for Fear the Walking Dead. Now we know that it has now been a couple of weeks since the series finale. We've had time to digest it, time to think about it. And so I wanted to jump into this and talk about from Season 1 to Season 8 very quickly, not really diving into too much detail and just talk about the show in general and the little things here and there. But when this show was first announced and we got our first trailer, I was very excited about this show. It had a lot of promise. We had new characters, a new story, and most of all, I was excited to see the idea of the beginning of the apocalypse, how it unfolds, the chaos that ensues around the apocalypse. And the first 3 seasons showed that they could do it in a way that was good. We had good characters, we had good stories, and then it just slowly started going downhill. One of the characters in mind that I can say that I was not happy to see go, it was not a major character, but with Travis. I was sad to see Travis go, and yes, it's the Walking Dead world, so people can die in an instant and with no real explanation or reason or anything behind that. But he was one character that I was hoping was going to stick around, and then suddenly he's reveals that he's bitten, and then he tosses himself out of a helicopter because he gets shot as they're trying to flee the base, and it just goes downhill from there, because especially after the death of Nick, it was really hard to kind of stay with the show because they introduced Charlie, the person responsible for killing Nick. And I understand too that Frank Delane, he wanted to leave for The Walking Dead, because if you look back at particular interview videos, cast interviews, season interviews, different types of things like that, the man looks bored out of his mind, or he is just stoned beyond all belief, and he looks like he doesn't want to be there. So I can understand why he would want to leave the show, because I believe that he didn't like the direction that the show was going. And just beyond that, Season 4, Season 5, we had an introduction of new characters. Some of them were just god-awful and served no purpose. Then we had a couple like John. I really enjoyed him. I enjoy the actor Garrett Dillahunt. And if you watch shows like Raising Hope, he definitely has different ends of his acting capabilities. We see in Raising Hope that he's full-blown comedy and just a goofy-ass character. Then we see in this that he was a very serious guy and he could have that drama feel. But after the death of him, it's just they were just knocking off these characters. Another actor, though, I believe he wanted to leave the show. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore, which is understandable. You do it for so long, you get tired of it. You get tired of the same old story. And I think that was the problem, was the writing especially just started to go to hell, and the actors themselves could see it, and they didn't want to be a part of it anymore. So we see there in the 4th season in particular, they introduced Morgan into this world after being in the Walking Dead world, being a part of the All Out War storyline. He played his parts, and he was racked with guilt and just not really understanding what his place was in the world. So we see him leave the Virginia, Alexandria area and then go off here, come across John, and then come across these other characters. Al, another character that's up and left. Not real sure why she left. I don't know if it was the actress, she didn't want to be a part of it, or just it was the proper time for her character story to close out. But we saw her leave and tie into the CRM storyline. And just with that being said, the writing was just all over the place. It was up, it was down. And then here comes Season 7, where we had some good guest stars, like particularly John Glover. I enjoyed his character of Teddy being the serial killer and being this cult leader. And John Glover himself says he wished he could have done more episodes, but that story itself too was only going to play out so far. You could only stretch it so far. And then we had the introduction of Virginia as well within that storyline, her little sister, or her daughter, I guess, as she was revealed to be. And I couldn't stand that fucking character, but that's just me. But I believe that's probably what a lot of people thought. And the story was just, it was all over the place. They could not follow through on certain stories. There was plot holes and characters we couldn't stand. But between season 4, getting up to season 6, and then we get into season 7, where a lot of people had complaints about that season. And again, the writing was just ridiculous, for lack of a better word. And then we had the storyline of Alicia getting bit, taking off her own arm to beat the infection, and then just her being in this state of constant fever and being delusional. And just it was hard to follow, hard to deal with. And then we had the uncertain end of her character, where she was just up and gone. We didn't know if she actually recovered from the infection or whatever it was that was keeping her ill. We have this scene where she kind of looks like she's recovered, or this could be an afterlife thing. So it was up in the air, left unanswered for the entirety of the rest of the series, up until we got our series finale, where she does make an appearance and she's alive and well, and to be reunited with her mother. And kind of going back on that, we have the reintroduction of Madison, who we all believe died at the end of season 4 in the stadium fire. But then they fed us this line of "no one's gone until they're gone." It was painted on trees. It was kind of it was a crutch for a lot of their story. And I think it was them hinting at they were going to bring back someone from the past, and we all assumed it was going to be Madison. And they brought her in, and she had this weirdo storyline of basically being a kidnapper for this colony that thought if they took kids from their parents that they could survive, but all they did was fuel a war with parents and send people over the edge, and just, it was fucking awful. And I don't know what they were trying to accomplish with this. But then we got our season 8, our final season, split into 2 parts. We had the closure of certain characters, because Morgan's character, I don't believe he ever really fit in the Fear the Walking Dead world. It just felt forced. It was definitely a move to jack up the ratings and jack up the viewership, because they knew that people were tuning out of this show. They were over it. And this was an attempt, and it did work, to give them some credit. It brought in some viewers from The Walking Dead who was interested in seeing Morgan's story go on, and I was one of them. I wanted to see where they would take Morgan's story, and then his story was left open-ended, because we did see his story kind of conclude, kind of not, where he says he's going to go on the search for Rick. So we're left guessing, is Morgan going to be back? Is he going to make an appearance in one of these other spinoffs? Because we have the other 3 spinoffs that they're doing: the Rick and Michonne show, the Daryl show, and the Maggie and Negan show. And also there's the untitled crossover spinoff series that I assume is going to take all these spinoffs, close them out, and completely just close this pocket of the Walking Dead world. Whether or not they'll continue with different stories remains to be seen. And it could still be several years from now, because I think that at least for a couple of these shows, they're going to do at least 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons. The Rick and Michonne show, there's still just the uncertainty of whether or not it's going to be 1 season. That's what they've been saying, but then they say limited thing. You could do a limited thing with multiple seasons, just like they did with World Beyond. And so we're left wondering what's going on, all while they're laying the groundwork for different things, laying mystery in there. With the closeout of Fear the Walking Dead, we had Dwight and Sherry say they're going back to the Sanctuary, because they had a whole episode dedicated going back to the Sanctuary, leaving it in ruins. So I'm not sure what they're going back to, what they're going to do to really rebuild that, and if they're going to have them pop up in one of these other spinoffs. It's really, at this point, they're milking it for all it's worth. They don't care if the story makes sense or not. Most people, me included, were just kind of along for the ride to see how these other spinoffs are going to close out, especially the Rick and Michonne one, because we've all been waiting patiently for the return of Rick and to see how his story closes out, what they're planning on doing. Hopefully they don't do something drastic like kill the man, because that would just be completely just slap in the face to fans, and just basically a final fuck you, because it seems like that's what they've been doing over the last several years with these characters and with these stories, and just really pushing the envelope on these different series, not really giving up and hiring half-ass writers, and just making a mess of the whole world and doing more damage than good. But with that being said too, Fear the Walking Dead, it had a lot of promise when we were first told about it. When I first saw that first trailer, excited as all hell. That died quickly about season 4, the end of season 4. I was over it, but I stayed with the show just to see how it would end. And gotta say, it wasn't worth the wait. They killed a lot of good characters. This last part of the season especially, they killed a handful of characters off screen just because they didn't want to deal with them because they didn't fit into the story, all while introducing new characters that made no fucking sense. Alicia's fan club, I thought that was stupid. They could have done without that. That was just another part of trying to convince us whether or not she was actually alive for that whole last part of the season, because we had the great return of Troy, and I think they could have done without that. I think they handled that poorly, because we had him come back and he was supposed to be this big main villain, I think. But I really think they made a mistake when they killed him. Yes, it's probably the most final way they could have done things, but I think they fucked up there and just kind of making Madison an unforgiving person. Yes, she was on the pretense that he had killed her daughter, and so she was filled with rage and vengeance and killed this man, who I think if they really gave him a shot, even with it only being the last couple episodes, they could have at least sent him off to the sunset, giving him some kind of redemption arc, but they chose just to gut the dude and just be done with it. There's merits on both ends of that, I think. But all in all, the whole series started out great and quickly went downhill, ended on a half-assed note, but bringing in Alicia was definitely a Hail Mary to hopefully bring back people to see if she was still alive and to confirm that she was alive and just give this little piece of the Walking Dead world its final goodbye and hopefully please people in the meantime. It was a series that they could have done a lot more with if they had consistent writing, consistent showrunners, and just not made stupid decisions with characters, bringing them in, killing them, bringing in unnecessary characters. So it was just unfortunate that it went this direction with this show, because they could have done great things with this show, but then it turned into quite the dumpster fire. But I guess that is my review for Fear the Walking Dead as a whole, as this series complete. It was good, but then it went to shit, basically. So if you enjoyed my thoughts and my rambling, please be sure to leave comments, leave likes, and of course subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. So until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye.
When civilization ends, it ends fast.